Get ready for the assignment event of the year. 5 brain regions, 1 study, 1 assignment, 1 narrator, and that's too many ones. 2 sources. Wait, I think it's only epic if it's in descending order. Damn it. You're late. I won't wait for a response. This is a video, this isn't Dora the Explorer. I found an article titled, Study Links ADHD to 5 Brain Regions. Which brain regions do you think it is? That's right, it is the accumbens, the hippocampus, the putamen, the amygdala, and the caudate. This was on the website sciencenewsforstudents.org, and that's a lot like other news stations, except they cover things other than Trump. The title does lack poeticism, though, I guess. Like 5 brain regions to distract them all. Never really occurred to anybody. According to the article, the main finding of this research is simply the confirmation that these 5 regions are involved in ADHD. In affected individuals, these 5 regions were smaller. But also, total brain volume was smaller. So it's a bit of a chicken or egg thing. Is the total brain smaller because 5 of its parts are smaller, or are the 5 parts smaller because the whole brain is smaller? It does not clarify. It stated that adults, however, show no size difference, only children. The journalist puts the importance of the research on its novelty. It's so far the largest cross-sectional study of its kind in ADHD. Frankly, it's amazing that they got 1,713 people with ADHD to sit still long enough for an MRI. The journalist does make one suggestion as to the implications of this research by pointing out that the amygdala is the hot seat for emotions, stating that that may help to explain why children with ADHD are often very irritable and angry. That and everyone constantly yelling at them for not paying attention. If everyone I ever met was mad at me, I'd also be irritable. Then I decided to find the actual study, because, much like the amygdala, the internet is a hot seat for emotions, which accumulates in the need for ad revenue, attention, clickbait, and fake news. That sounds like a poem of our time, doesn't it? Clickbait and fake news. So, due to all this, you might say the internet is the internet's amygdala. And if there's one thing I've learned from anxiety attacks, it's you can't trust your amygdala. Fucking brain. What a dick. Potatoes never have to deal with this shit. The hypothesis that this study was testing is, we aim to investigate whether, God damn it. We aim to investigate whether there are structural differences in adults and children with ADHD compared with those without this diagnosis. Nailed it. The scientists compared MRI data across 23 cohorts, and including 1,713 participants with ADHD and 1,529 healthy individuals, age ranging from 4 to 63. They measured ICV. That's basically the size of your entire brain. Intracranial volume. Intracranial volume. Intercranial volume would mean the volume between my cranium and other people's craniums, and that would be a lot of volume. They also measured the left and right volumes of the accumbens, the putamen, the pallidum, the caudate, the thalamus, and the hippocampus of these individuals. So a little bit more, a couple more brain regions than was specified in the article. So in science, there's an unspoken rule, and it goes as follows. Wait, it's unspoken. I can't speak it if it's unspoken. That would be unspeakable. Well, these are very smart people with very bad writing skills. All I could think when I was reading this was, when I have to take 3 breaths to say this out loud, the sentence is too long. Shut up, Facebook. God damn. You tell people to turn off their phones when they're doing homework. The variable. So I always get these confused. This is because the independent variable sounds like it should be independent of what the researchers are doing. Like it's on its own. It's an independent variable. It doesn't need mom and dad bossing it around. It just does its own shit. That's not it at all. The independent variable is the one the researchers manipulate. The dependent variable, well, it should be dependent on what the researchers do. But instead, it's the one that just kind of depends. That's how I remember it. It's annoying as shit. The independent variable is manipulated. The dependent variable is the one they're testing. They're checking out. They're viewing. For this study, the dependent variable was the brains and structural region sizes of people with ADHD. People diagnosed with ADHD, I should say. I really need a faster way to say that. You know what? From here on in, they are distractoids. Diagnosis was, of course, another independent variable. People with the disorder were in one group, without was in the other. Makes sense. Age was taken into account as another one. So child distractoids, or distractlings, they exhibited smaller amygdala, caudate, putamen, accumbens, and hippocampus. The other two tested regions were normal. And then adolescents didn't show as much of a difference, and adults showed a non-significant difference. Or a no significant difference, I should say. So, I guess it really does get better as they get older. I kind of figured the media article was making that up. Handedness was another one. They took into account whether the subjects were right or left-handed in case that impacted lateralization. And the last independent variable was whether the subjects were on medication. So if they were currently taking medication, they would have to have a 48-hour window of not taking it so that it could flush out of their system. If they had taken it for 4 weeks at a time at one point in their life, that was taken into account, and then whether or not they were on it currently, and then there were some people who had never taken medication. But surprisingly, this showed no significant difference among any of these groups, which is surprising because previous studies have shown that stimulant medication among ADHD people, distractoids, has helped to normalize their brain structures. So the results of this study are that they can finally confirm for sure distractoid brains are wrong, which means that ADHD is a brain disorder as well as a developmental disorder as it gets better with age. So that's kind of useful. Now we know what to call them, though I like distractoids. So the media article was actually pretty spot on. They didn't really... The media article was actually pretty spot on. They could have been more clear with the total brain volume versus specific region volume. However, the study was no more specific. And I'm assuming that the regional volume has to do with the ratio to the whole brain. Because why would they possibly say this brain's just smaller? Oh, look, these regions are smaller. That's dumb. That's not how you science. The article, however, doesn't mention that even though 5 regions were found, 7 were tested. Small potatoes. But no significant difference was found for distractoid pallidums and thalamus. Pallidums. Or thalamuses. Thalami. You know, I was once in a psych class. And if you're watching this video, it means I passed. In this class, we discussed the brain as a multi-purpose tool. Now, imagine aliens landed on Earth long after we're all dead. And of course, they find a laptop, and they open it. And what do they see but Pornhub? Because, let's face it, the world's ending, that's the site we're all going to. And they see foot sex. So suddenly, they determine feet are for sex. Feet are instruments of human pleasure. There is no other explanation. So they write this down in their little notebooks, and they take it around to their alien buds, and they're like, hey man, made a discovery about these weirdos. They had these really long appendages that they I won't get into details. He tells his friend. But we, of course, we know that would be wrong. That's fantastic and terrible at the same time, but it's wrong. And because we know that feet can do a lot of things. Feet can kick, run, provide pedicurists with a job, and if the old prophecy is to be believed, one of these days these feet are going to walk all over you. But enough hearsay. It's kind of like hands. Like hands don't have one singular purpose. They can do all sorts of shit. The brain regions are the same, kind of. They play a role in many different things, and we don't fully understand it. So the point about the amygdala being for emotion, the hot seat for emotion, sure, and whatever. And both the study and the article did point this out, that the amygdala might help. The smaller amygdala might help to explain irritability and anger among ADHD distractoids. And that's true. However, the amygdala also plays a role in memory, so we might want to look into memory problems among these individuals as well. Especially with the hippocampus in there related to memory. There's all kinds of other implications of these regions, and some that we don't understand. Google even told me the amygdala was important for survival instinct, so we might want to be careful and watch these people for symptoms of just like dropping dead. Another thing that's been mentioned in this class is that the reticular formation is linked to sustained attention, or to attention. Specifically, sustained attention gets better as the reticular formation myelinates. And so, since it's a developmental issue, I wonder if future research into myelinization of the reticular formation in other brain regions for people with ADHD might be a good direction to take it. I don't know if that's possible without killing them and harvesting their brains, but, Spock would urge the good of the many, or the good of the few. So, another thing that's being explored in class, man, this class comes up a lot. It's almost as if I have a class project, and I'm trying to hit a certain benchmark of things to relate to this class. The hippocampus plays a role in turning short-term memory into long-term memory. So I almost wonder if the hippocampus's involvement may help to explain why distractoids do so badly in school. Well, that and their propensity to
not pay attention.